Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a esta primera edición de la San Diego Comic Con Málaga. Bueno, y además bienvenidos también a este magnífico Hall M, con M de Málaga, que es el espacio principal de la San Diego Comic Con. Un lugar fantástico y, como veréis, también este primer día nos estamos estrenando con unos shows y unos espectáculos magníficos, como este mismo panel que hoy tenemos aquí y que nos ocupa, que es dedicado a mujeres guerreras, actrices guerreras con papeles muy, muy intensos, tanto psicológica como físicamente, y que además son 3 actrices de lo mejor de su generación. Ahora pasamos a ellas enseguida, vamos a ver qué tal. Sí, ok. This panel will be in English language. We decided that this way, and we will now, you be prepared. I hope you have all your AI earphones, and I take advantage of this to say hello to all our friends from abroad that travel from far away to be here in beautiful Malaga. Thank you so much for coming, and welcome to Malaga. And now we definitely need to bid welcome to the first guest tonight. So please, we need a big round of applause for Dafne Keen. Thank you so much, Dafne. It's great having you here.
Hola.
And now we need another big round of applause for our next guest, who is Natalia Dyer. Natalia, thank you so much. It's great having you here. And finally, our third guest tonight, very special guest. And another, please, big San Diego Comic Con Malaga round of applause for Gwen Christie. Well, again, thank you so much for being here. It's thrilling to have you three, Gwen. Thank you very much. And, well, I think to start the conversation, we need to give it some context. I think that I really need to make this question for starters. And it's, and I'm sure the audience will love to know, which are the female actors that really inspire you so much and to become the incredibly accomplished actresses that you're today. If you want to start, Gwen. Yes, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so very much for coming. Thank you. There are so many actresses that inspire me. I think that very early on, an actress like Glenda Jackson, who was a theater actress primarily, she moved into films, she won Oscars, and then she became a politician in the UK. And she always sought out fighting for what she believed was right. And it takes a great strength to do that. She then returned to acting and played Lear in the final years of her life. But I also have to say, Viola Davis, a phenomenal actress with such power and heart and compassion, and we feel every emotion moving through her. But also these two amazing women here.
Please. No, I mean, this question is also for the three of you, so.
Yes. Yeah, hi. Hola. Yes, I would agree that the list of inspiration of female actors and characters is quite long, and definitely includes both of these women at the table. I mean, I think when I was younger, I think when you're young and you're thinking about acting, there's, you know, I mean, women like Glenn Close and Meryl Streep. I think some of these older actors are of course, people who, you know, you're like, it's so incredible what they do. I mean, I think I think when I was young, what inspired me as well is some like animated characters, honestly. I watched, you know, like Sailor Moon when I was young, and I think that's like just like strong female characters that made you sort of believe in yourself in different ways, and you know, think about what the power of a storytelling and a strong female character can do. So I think a lot of that was inspiring for me, honestly, to be an actor. It's just some really cool animated women.
Thank you very much. Dafne, please.
Bueno, hola, todo el mundo. I mean, I think for me, someone who I just grew up on and was really just meaningful for me as a creator was Gina Rowlands. I think there was something so beautiful about seeing a woman being very comfortable in being broken and flawed, and all her characters were so inspiring in a way that as a young girl I didn't feel like I had to be sort of perfect and put together. And honestly, just the women I've worked with in my life, like even like being in rooms like this with wonderful women like these, I just find seeing women doing things and being in the world incredibly inspiring, because we have so much stacked against us that when I see just women around me, I'm always very, very kind of honored to be in their presence.
So, it's true that this panel is called Mujeres, Guerreras, which means, as Dafne knows very well, it means warrior women, or warrior women, basically. But I want to make clear that we are not only talking about the physicality, which is great, and of course it's really impressive of the roles you play, but also about how mentally strong are these, are also we can call them mental warriors, because they are characters who are also pretty powerful from a mental and psychological point of view. So I would like to know, how do you prepare mentally for this such a strong psychologically strong characters?
I think in terms of preparation, it always depends on the character. I read the script multiple times, as many times as possible. I read it until I'm absolutely sick of it, and then I read it until I'm enthusiastic about it again. In terms of the sort of mental toughness of being a warrior, for me, I think being a warrior is about overcoming the obstacle. It's about fighting very hard to overcome the thing that's holding you back, and doing it with as much good heart as you possibly can, with all of your will. So it's really about the character. I love to immerse myself in another person and really find who they are think about what it is that makes them different to me, what makes them similar to me. And then it is hugely enjoyable to start really exploring the differences, because that takes you into an entirely different place. But the mental toughness, on the whole, I fake it.
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? Sorry.
Okay. When we talk or when we use the expression warrior women, we think mostly about the physicality of the roles you play, but also, and specifically, roles you played, like for example, Nancy. I mean, they are also mentally very strong. So first, before getting into the action scenes and all this, I would like to know, how do you prepare yourself, as Gwen also elaborated about so well, how do you prepare yourself for these characters that are mentally so strong?
Oh gosh, yeah. Yes, well, I think, you know, at least for me and Nancy, you know, I think she is, she's very brave, and I think maybe in my own life I'm not quite as, you know. So I think in order to kind of get into that, I do think, you know, all you can really do is prepare, and then on the day you're kind of like, okay, we're just gonna do it. So, you know, I think anything that helps you feel in your body. I think when I know that physical or emotional scenes are coming up, I do think, you know, obviously getting very familiar with your lines and what's going on. But then, you know, I think at some point it does really, even emotions come, you know, in the body, and I think, you know, just stretching, even, you know, dancing, anything that kind of makes you feel, you know, available and in touch with yourself and kind of prepared to take on anything and be in the moment and be responsive. I think that's really helpful. And also sometimes just having a really great playlist that puts you just in that mindset is very, very conducive to the job, to getting things done.
Yeah, for me, I think not taking the work home is a challenge, because I get so immersed in the characters and I try to do jobs that I care about deeply. So I think for me it's about finding, I think, the separation between me and the character once I get home, so I don't carry that with me in a way. And I think it's kind of what Gwendoline said. You do have to put on a mask and you have to believe everything you're saying, and there needs to be, your body needs to believe it in a way. So I think it's purely about sort of, in the least like Meisner way possible, tricking your body into thinking things, and sort of, I think it becomes incredibly technical in a way, but also incredibly intuitive, and it's about letting go and understanding the story and understanding the character from a point of just complete empathy in a way. And just, I think, yeah, it's just knowing the material and knowing what you're doing and where you're going with something, and finding a purpose and finding a goal and just following through. And then I think just when you get home, for me, I have to let it go. Because if not, it's consuming and it's stressful, and you get like emotional, and you've spent maybe like an 18-hour day on set, and it's like a lot, so you just need to leave it at work, for me personally.
Thank you so much, Dafne. Thank you. And now we can talk now about the physicality with a question that I think is a very Comic-Con question that I think the audience will appreciate. That is, what is the most physically demanding scene you've ever shot?
So I've had a few, but I would say definitely the fight with the Hound in Game of Thrones. I mean, when I think now about all the preparation I did for Brienne of Tarth, it is quite mind-blowing. It was the opportunity of a lifetime for a part I adored. And, you know, I would start training months before we started filming. I would change my diet so that I would put on more muscle. I'd work on my flexibility also. And I would also work with weights so I could deal with the weight of the costume. And the fight with the hound was thrilling because of the story it told of these two warriors who were matched. But of course, traditionally, we always think that the woman is going to be weaker, but she wasn't. And it was tough. You know, it was a very tough shoot. We trained hard for it. I adored working with Rory McCann. He is a great gentleman. He is a generous, responsible, kind, funny, loving actor. And we worked to bring everything we could to our characters and to that moment and all of the strength. And Rory is actually stronger than me, but we found in the acting the right temperature all the way through the scene so that we were not hurt on purpose. But on the day of shooting, we shot it over 3 days. We shot it in Iceland. We shot it on top of an inactive volcano. At least that's what they told us. And there were sort of freak weather conditions. It was boiling hot. It was meant to be incredibly overcast. And we went into it with such ferocity. And there were a few slips here and there, you know. We were both, you know, received a couple of blows accidentally. And there was just sort of one moment when I thought my nose was broken. I had ringing in my ears and I was doing a lot of spitting. I was, you know, but because we were so locked into the story, I returned to it. And I knew that Rory was holding me with real grace and responsibility. And we had a phenomenal stunt team, a brilliant C.C. Smith who really took care of us. And we told the story. And at the end of it, we were together, Rory and I. And we said, he turned to me and he said, "We had a fight." And I said, "Yes, we did." And he said, "I love you." I said, "I love you too." And we felt like we'd created something together. We dedicated all of our physical and emotional energies, and we come out of it bruised and battered, but we created something that I am so grateful to be able to say today, I had a hand in making.
Wow. So what about you, Natalia? What was the most physically challenging? Sorry.
Okay, I honestly, I would say I think the most physically demanding things that I've had to shoot are some stuff that's going to be in season 5, so I can't really talk about that. But outside of that, actually, our season 4, I think, the nature of our show, things just kind of get bigger and bigger. So last season, we had this big bat fight sequence that we choreographed. It was kind of more like a dance, but it was very intense, and we shot it over the course of 2 days in these 2 big chunks, and it was it was really, really fun. We had a really beautiful time supporting each other through all of it and choreographing everything, and then checking in on everybody, making sure everybody's okay, because it was quite a physical dance, honestly. But at the end of 2 days, I think I had thrown my back out quite a bit. But that was a really fun. And anytime that you get to be very physical and express things and tell a story with your body, I think is those days are the ones that I'm the most like, wow, like I cannot believe this is my job and I get to do this. Because you feel exhausted and you feel like you've really come out of that, giving your all and giving your all to a story. So I'd say that's it.
Well, and I'm sure the audience is definitely looking forward to hear about Dafne's more challenging scene from a physical point of view, and I'm sure it's going to have something to do with a small Wolverine lady with adamantium claws, correct? Isn't it? Or maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak on that. But I think the most challenging job for me overall was Star Wars. We did I think it was 4 months of training, and it was 4 hours daily of sword training. We did weightlifting. I was doing body-to-body combat, and then we had this whole week basically where they just crammed all of my stunts, and that was maybe the most harrowing week of my life. I would get home and I would just soak in Epsom salts because I felt like death. But it's the most fun I ever have on set. I'm circus trained. I was an acrobat as a kid, so I have the best time when I'm doing stunts. And it was just there's something so beautiful in finding scene partners who, like Gwendoline was saying, and it's so wonderful, and you have a scene partner who is there to hold you and to respect you and to create this beautiful choreography with you. And I found that in Manny Jacinto, and I found that in Amanda Stenberg, and I've never had more fun being killed in my life. I had the best time. It was so amazing. And then also when we did Logan, the final part of Logan it wasn't even the fighting itself. It was just so much running through the forest and so much of falling on our faces. And I think when you get a question like that, the answer you expect is oh yeah, no, and then this happened and there was this fight. Guys, it's not. It's when you're running for 4 hours straight and they're no, go again, full speed, and you're I don't run marathons. Why am I doing a full day of just running? And that's genuinely, for me, the hardest part of it, because I just adore the choreographing of it, the training of it, the filming of it, and there's something so beautiful in also just stunt teams in general are always so kind and giving. And in Star Wars, for example, we worked with the most amazing team, and they were just so excited about it. And Chris Cowan, one of our main big bosses on the stunt team, was a huge fan of anime, so it was all about making it look as beautiful and as cinematic and as kind of samurai-esque as possible. And it feels just so special that I get to go on jobs and learn. I now know archery, sword training, boxing, and I've learned this, and this is part of my job, that I have to do that. And I feel so lucky that that's just a job requirement that I have, and I now just have those skills for life.
Thank you so much, Dafne. We are in a Comic-Con convention, and Star Wars is always in every single conversation, in the aisles, in the halls, everywhere. And here we have Gwen and Dafne. They are part of this universe. And I'm curious, and I'm sure that you are curious too, to know what is the feeling that you had the first time that you walk into the set of a Star Wars production and you said, wow, I'm in the middle of a Star Wars set?
Well, I wanted to be in Star Wars since I was 6 years old. And when I heard they were making new Star Wars films, I desperately wanted to be a part of them, particularly when I heard that J.J. Abrams was going to be directing, and that the worlds were going to be authentic and akin to those in the early films. I was very excited about it. And it was all kept in total secrecy. I learned I got the part. I was told I could tell no one at all. I went into Pinewood in a car and was taken into the wardrobe department, and I was shown my costume. I did a costume fitting. JJ and I had a conversation, and then I was led into the set in full costume, because that's what we wanted. I didn't want to just go in as me. I wanted to go in as the character. So I was fully immersed in the world of Star Wars. And I remember walking in and seeing stormtroopers and seeing the interior of this, just one of the biggest sets I've ever been on in my life. And it was when we're in the aircraft with Finn. That was the scene that we were filming, and it blew my mind. It was one of the most surreal and perfect moments I have ever had, because finally I was inside that world. Thankfully, I was wearing the helmet, so no one could see that I was bright red and shaking.
Dafne?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, my first day on set was in Coruscant, and I was surrounded by Jedis, and it was the best day of my life. I arrived there, and I had seen the movies when I was, I think, like 10 with my dad, and I'd always wanted to be a part of it, and I got cast, and it was the most exciting thing in the world. And then it was so weird to walk on set and to be a Jedi, and to be surrounded by Jedi, and the whole process of being on a Star Wars production is insane. Like, you have Force training lessons. Like, you go to Force classes, which is crazy, and you have saber training, and it was so surreal, and it was so much more magical than I could have ever expected in a way. I think you're told, like, oh, don't meet your heroes, and that's kind of, I was terrified to do Star Wars, because I was like, this is going to ruin Star Wars for me. It hasn't. I feel so much more passionately about it than I ever have before, and it's so, the attention to detail is so insane. And I remember walking on the Coruscant set, and I remember being like, oh wait, that's not green screen. And I went to the back, and the entire planet was like hand painted, like window by window on the outside. It was so beautiful, and everyone was just, also, we were all such huge fans of Star Wars that the whole crew and the cast were just so excited to be there. And I was not cool and collected. I was very much skipping around, and when we did my first take, I was like, I'm a Jedi! And then everyone on set was like, you're working, please focus. There's a fly somewhere, fuck off. But yeah, literally best day ever. Like, so fun.
Thank you, Daphne. Well, and Natalia, I could say that now, after all these years in Stranger Things, definitely a Stranger Things set is as iconic as a Star Wars set now. It has become one of the most popular and, again, iconic productions, or in this case, television productions or series in the history of the media. So, but it's obviously now, when you approach or when you enter one of those sets, how do you feel after all these years working with people you've been growing together, not only working together, growing together? How is the first day that you meet all your colleagues for the first time for the next season? How you interact for each other this first day? I would love to see this, like fly on the wall. Could you elaborate a little bit about this?
You're asking how it feels to go back to like the first day of a season, like when you come back and see.
Correct.
Oh man, I mean, we've been so. I mean, I feel so happy, so lucky to have been part of this this group of people who we genuinely all really like to work together, which is very lucky, and to be able to make something, put it out in the world, and then come back and get to do it again and again, and come back to these characters, and have them grow up as we're growing up. I mean, it really is so fun. It, kind of feels like a theater troupe, like a family, like summer camp. And so the first day, especially, I mean, this last season, going into it, and of course we knew it was going to be the last season, so I think everybody was extremely, emotional and present, and, the sets that we get to work with are beautiful. I mean, the set design and creation, I think, is like one of the most amazing parts of our show, because, it is like the detail of the people who go in there and make these little worlds for us to play in is always amazing. And of course, every season gets bigger and bigger, so you get to work on these, incredibly built, huge sets. And again, I can't really talk about the ones that we just come from, but we got to do some really, really fun, big, beautiful things in these sets this year. So yeah, the first day it feels like the first day of summer camp, the first day of school, and seeing all your old friends, and you fall right back into it. It's very, very exciting.
Thank you, Natalia. Thank you so much. Now I'll make some specific questions to each of you, and I don't like reading my own questions because I think it's silly, but in this case, it's a friend of mine who wrote actually these 2 questions that I really, really like. And I will have to read them because my friend will kill me if I don't use in this moment his specific and exact words that he used to write these questions. And thank you very much to this anonymous friend of mine that he actually writes very well, and he's a big fan of you 3. So the first one, and let me read it, is for Gwen. And it is, Westeros is brutal to women, yet Brienne carved out a place as a knight defined by honor. How did you approach building her strength in a world that was set against her?
I still love Brienne of Tarth. I really do. When I think about when that part came to me, it must have been about 2010, I first heard about it, I think, maybe 2011. And I couldn't believe that there was going to be a female character on television like that. I assumed that because Brienne of Tarth was so far from the traditional depictions we'd seen of women on television, I assumed they'd just push her into the background. And I couldn't believe there was this production, that this was a character in the foreground that we saw more of. And what I loved about Brienne was that she did not compromise on who she is. She was outside of society. She wanted to be a knight. The world told her she couldn't do that just because she had been born female. She saw no need to pay attention to that, and instead went about things in her own way. And that tenacity and strength is what really fascinated me. A woman who wanted to live her life by honor in an environment that was dead set on pulling it down at every single opportunity. And yes, she had all of the physical strength, but this extraordinary overriding sense of moral good was what really attracted me to the part. And this incredible vulnerability. And on the page, many of those sorts of experiences, although obviously the character was in Westeros, it was a fantastical version of a world that didn't exist, it was still akin to our own in some way. And it did mirror, in some regards, the experiences that I and many other people have in society when you feel you exist outside of the confines of the mainstream, that you are not considered the conventional choice, that you do not fit easily into any category. And I found at last this was a part that not only spoke to me and the rarity of those experiences, which at that time, as women and however people identify, we weren't really given a voice in mainstream entertainment. But I could open that up. That was the similarity between me and the character. The differences were vast, to do with physical strength, to do with physicality, the way the character walked, to do with so many things. But I went about a process of making myself vulnerable, of cutting my hair off, of wearing no makeup, of waking up and acknowledging my own androgyny, my size, my height, my strength, my feelings of otherness. And really the idea of honor is something that is rare in our lives, in the toughness and difficulty of the day-to-day. And it was a privilege to attach to the idea and think about what it means. And so the process was so many different things, but really what I had to attach to was this idea of a fantastic woman who lived her life by an overriding sense of moral good.
Thank you so much. Gwen, as a matter of fact, this question has a second part that is related to what you just said. And it reads exactly, what kind of reactions from fans have meant the most to you about her impact, related to what you just said?
I'm so pleased to be asked this question because it's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. I've been so fortunate to work as an actor. I truly have. I've had the most extraordinary luck and incredible opportunities. But I would like to say thank you. I am so humbled to be here in front of a group of people that want to see me as part of a panel and hear me talk about my experiences. And I'm truly so grateful for so many years of support for someone that was told they couldn't work as an actor because of how they are and how they look. Thank you. I am humbled by your support. Truly. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really emotional. Natalia, going back a little bit in this case, to Nancy Wheeler, because later on I will ask you about a completely different role in a movie that I love, sorry, the fanboy moment that is Velvet's Buzzsaw, but we will get there. We will get there. So going back to Nancy, and this is the last question I will read, and we will continue with the questions that I actually wrote. But my friend, and this is the last question that I will read from him, says, Nancy Wheeler has evolved from a small-town girl into a fearless investigator. How did you map out her growth across the seasons of Stranger Things?
Wow. Yes. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite parts about playing Nancy has been her arc throughout the seasons, because she really did start as this kind of school. She loved to go to school. She played by the rules. She was, always quite smart, and I think always curious. And I think that is something that she fostered throughout these seasons, and I think allowed her to grow into the person that she came to be. So every season it was kind of just being able to add on, what has she gone through in the last season, and where does that leave her now? Where does that put her? And I think, she started as an older sister. Well, she is an older sister, and I think with that comes a lot of protection and a sense of caretaking. And I think she had a really strong sense of responsibility and a strong sense of justice. I think something like losing your best friend at that age really affected her, and I think that it carried her a lot through the season. So I felt very fortunate to be able to bring that to life, and I do owe a lot of that to the Duffer brothers, who are really good at writing strong female characters. And I think they gave us all a lot to play with and a lot to work with. So it was very, it was humbling. It was very fun. And honestly, I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Nancy through playing her. So it was really a gift.
Thank you. And now, Natalia, I have to ask about Velvet Buzzsaw. I know you play such. It's a small role in terms of minutes on screen. That is Coco, but what a ride of a movie. I mean, that was really incredible.
I know.
Yeah, and one of the most incredible cast assembled in the last 15 years or something like that. But the most incredible thing is that when I watched the movie in a festival, after that I thought, oh, maybe Nancy and Coco are completely opposite characters, but maybe not that opposite. So maybe they are both survivors. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I'd never thought about that before. But you know, I do think Coco definitely found herself in a situation she did not expect to be in, and was somehow very resilient in all of that, in the face of that and of a lot of scary things. So I think there could be some similarities there. Yeah, but yes, I mean, I appreciate that. I think Coco was a very fun character, and I really enjoyed being a part of that film. It was pretty wild.
I'm sure, guys, you had your fun in this set, huh?
Yes, no, and in getting to work with all of those actors, getting to work with Dan Gilroy, and then all of those incredible actors, just like, and I was very in and out of those. You know, I would kind of work one day with this person and one day with this person. It just felt like a bit of an acting workshop, just observing these people on set and how they worked. So that was a really, really fun thing to get to do, for sure. But I'm glad that you like it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Natalia. Dafne, you of course now you are one of the most interesting characters in the Marvel comic universe. And probably a lot of people know you were born in Madrid and all this, but you started so young as one of the currently most iconic characters in the Marvel Comics universe. But also, it's very interesting to know that you come from such an incredible family of artists, playwrights, poets. How was this journey from this family from England and Madrid, and then how was the journey then becoming this character of the Marvel Comics universe? Can you elaborate a little bit about this journey from Madrid to Marvel?
I think...
at such a young age, I must add.
Yeah, I was 11 when I got cast, so very young. But I started acting when I was I think I started auditioning when I was 8. I booked my first job when I was 9. I was always around. My parents are both theatre people. They're basically Shakespeare nerds. And so I grew up around rehearsal rooms and theatres, and I just always had a really deep love for what we do. And I was always writing or painting, and I was a very bullied kid. And I think my mum thought it would be good for me to do some acting to get out of my shell. And so her friend was doing a short film, and so they needed a kid to play an angel. And I went and I did this thing, and I completely fell in love with the cameras. I'd never really seen the technical side because my parents worked more in theatre, and there was something so fascinating about cinematography and about film crews that made me completely fall in love with it. And then I basically begged my mum to let me audition, because also I'd been around actors enough to know that acting isn't really glitz and glam. It's basically doing auditions and auditions and auditions and not booking. So I knew that that's what it was, and that I probably wasn't going to book anything, but I wanted to do auditions. And then I found my Spanish agent, and he got me an audition for a TV show, and then I did this TV show. And I remember the first time I walked onto that film set, I have never felt more at home, and I've never felt more seen by a group of people. And I think there's something so beautiful about a film set and everyone kind of symbiotically coming together and creating this thing that's so much bigger than you. And then from that moment on, when I was 9, I was like, there's nothing else I want to do in my life other than this. And it was a challenge to get an English agent, to say the least. And it randomly, I mean, not to say by stroke of fate or anything, but it kind of, the role of Laura kind of fell in our laps. Like this audition at my agency arrived for a kid who could speak Spanish and English, which I could do because my dad was English and my mum was Spanish, and I lived in Spain, and a kid who was athletic enough to be able to perform stunts, and I was circus trained, so I could do that, and someone who vaguely resembled Hugh Jackman. So there was sort of, it was kind of kismet. It was perfect, and I did it, and I remember I did a bunch of self-tapes, and then I tanked my chem read, and then I went back in, and it was kind of the most fun I've had in an audition room. It was terrifying, but I had so much fun, and then I booked it, and it was honestly, to this day, probably the most magical job I've ever done. I mean, that creative team, I think working with Hugh Jackman, who is genuinely the kindest, most warmest, wonderful, generous actor there is, and James Mangold, who's just a genius, and Patrick Stewart, and Stephen Merchant, and Boyd Holbrook, and Richard E. Grant. Like, it was an insane cast, and I think at the time I knew how special it was, but really now, looking back on it, is when I'm like, that was a really special experience. And also I realize the more I come to these sort of things, like how meaningful it was to other people other than me, because it meant so much to me that I always thought it was kind of, oh, it was only that special to me. But then I meet people and I'm like, no, it's really special that it meant that much to so many other people. And I think there was something so special as well as a little Spanish girl to see, like, there was a character who was Hispanic and feisty and weird and quirky, and there was space for us, and they were just, yeah, and the more time passes, the more fond I grow of that, and the more special I think it is.
Thank you, Dafne. Thank you so much. I think the moment has arrived that the audience speaks. So I think we are ready for the questions from the audience. Oh, by the way, I will have, as you don't have the AI translation system, I will translate the questions that are in Spanish for you, okay?
Hi, I'm such a fan of the three of you. Like, I really am, and I wish that I could ask a question for the three of you. But my question is for Natalia. How did you decide yourself to acting? And was there a special moment when you knew you wanted to follow that path?
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, when I think about this, I do always kind of silently thank my parents, who were very instrumental in the sense that they were very supportive of, like, whatever curricular activity their kids wanted to do. You know, they just wanted to, you know, take them to soccer practice or ice skate, whatever it was. And I think at a young age, I kind of ended up in this acting class at a summer camp, and I just really liked it, and I think my mom could see that, and so she was like, great, well, let's, you know, if you like it, then let's try it. And so she took me to my first play audition. I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, so there was, you know, not a lot of film. There's theater, there's community theater, and I auditioned, and I got in this show. And then I think, for me, honestly, I was young, and I was in this show, and I was surrounded by this group of like-minded people, this group of people in theater who love to act, who love to come together and put something on for people. And I think that, for me, was so instrumental and so important in just falling in love with what acting can be. And, you know, it can be a community for you, and to be able to come together with people and create something and then give it back. I think at a young age I was just like, that's it. Like, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. And I was definitely the kid, when a show was over, I'd bawl my eyes out because it was my family. And I think, you know, you kind of fall in love with this process and with giving something back to people. And so I mean, that doesn't mean it was easy. I think there is a lot of auditioning, there is a lot of rejection, there is a lot of, trying something and not getting it, and it's, it can be a very heartbreaking business to be in, but I think, when you have those moments where you are there and you are able to create something and hopefully create something with other people, it's a very collaborative thing, and that's very beautiful, and to give it back, and you just know that that's what you want to do no matter what it takes in a way. So that was kind of how I fell into it, really, was through theater and through people, and yes, and my parents for driving me to rehearsals and auditions and things.
Hi, my question is for Gwen. Over the years, you have portrayed so many different characters, had so many diverse roles, but they all have in common that you always end up stealing the show somehow. So I wanted to know, what is your secret to give such iconic performances time and time again?
Gosh, that's nice of you. I didn't know that. I wish everyone thought the way you do. I've been very, very lucky in my career with the kind of roles that I've found. There's been some extraordinary choices, something like Wednesday with Tim Burton. Tim gave me a huge amount of... Tim Burton! But Tim gave me a huge amount of confidence. He put a lot of belief in me and asking me to play Larissa Weems and being very collaborative about the process. It'd been my dream my entire life to work with Tim. And he gave me a lot of confidence in my own abilities creatively. So when I get to work with someone and it's very much a collaboration, that's very fulfilling to me. Similarly, on Severance, another show Severance! Another show I love so much. The whole creative team, Dan and Ben and everybody involved, Sarah Edwards and John Carter and Judy Chin, hair, makeup, costume, we all worked together. And so I've just been very lucky to work with brilliant people, but I am genuinely filled with gratitude that they have given me a lot of confidence in my creative abilities to create a character that I can believe in.
Muchas gracias. Creo que quedaba al menos un exacto. ¿No? ¿Queda alguna más de pregunta? Creo que no, ¿no? Okay. Okay. So, as we are at the Comic-Con, everybody's craving for news from their favorite actors like yourselves. And I'm not sure how much you can disclose, but I like normally to finish these panels with a glimpse of anything that our guests could disclose about what they are going to do in the near future, because everybody is pretty knowledgeable, and audiences now are very sophisticated and knowledgeable, and they know what their favorite actors and actresses are doing. But is there anything you can disclose a little bit of what you will do next?
Me?
For example?
I can disclose nothing at all. Not in the slightest. I'm hoping to do some readings at Christmas for Great Ormond Street Charity, which is a charity I love and adore.
Oh.
What can I disclose about? Yeah. Okay. Well, we're just about to kind of start doing our big press for our last season. So that's going to be quite a time. And then honestly, after that, I mean, I'd love to do some theater. I'd love to get back to theater for me. That's something that I'm.
I mean, I don't think I'm allowed to disclose much, but I feel really excited and really lucky to be in and out of the set of Percy Jackson. I'm very impressed with the work they're putting in. Yeah, I mean, I can't really say much other than it looks incredible. It's so just elevated. I think everyone's grown so much, just like because they were kids, but also just as actors, I'm so impressed by them. And then other than that, I'm just really excited to, I'm getting into producing. I think I'm gonna do I'm excited to tell my stories in a way. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really wish you enjoy the rest of your time in Malaga very much. But it's been thrilling to have you here with us, especially on opening day. And we really appreciate that you took the time to be here with us and giving us these incredible answers to these questions and let us know about your experience as these warrior actors that you are. And again, it's been thrilling and electrifying having you here. And please, again, a big, big round of applause for Gwen, Natalia, and Dafne. It's been absolutely fantastic. Muchísimas gracias a todos.